I told you this was going to happen. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms LLC. P.A.N. Firearms for NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. And let's talk about this here. Many months ago, I did a video on the city of San Jose in California passing a law requiring gun owners to have liability insurance. And I said then that this is going to spread. Here we are. Now, California Lawmaker has put in a bill to require gun owners to be fully insured with liability insurance. Let's get some detail and watch this video here.
The bill that would require gun owners here in California to obtain liability insurance for the negligent or accidental use of their weapons. State Senator Nancy Skinner of Berkeley joins us now live, and thank you so much for being here. California will be the first in the nation to adopt such legislation. Why do you believe it's necessary?
Well, we need to improve gun safety and responsible gun ownership. And now that guns kill more people than cars, you think of it, we require every car owner to have liability insurance. Why wouldn't we do the same for a gun owner?
So explain to the audience how gun insurance would work.
Well, already some gun owners have liability insurance. That's voluntary. Sometimes your homeowner insurance will cover it. But under the law that I'm proposing, it's patterned after the city of San Jose was the first city to do so. New York State's also looking at it, that a gun owner would have to get coverage for the liability of their gun. And that way, the cost of any damage from a gun, whether of the health of a person or property damage, would not be borne by you and us, but borne by the gun owner.
Okay, you mentioned the efforts there in San Jose, but gun rights groups, boy, they immediately responded with a lawsuit arguing that it infringes on Second Amendment rights and is an unconstitutional tax on gun ownership. Why do you believe that your legislation might be able to overcome that type of legal challenge?
Well, there's nothing that requiring insurance doesn't stop a person from owning a car. So it is no way that requiring insurance of a gun owner is somehow interfering with their right to have a gun. This instead is just saying that we should not bear the cost of the damage that your gun might cause. You, the gun owner, should.
And how do you believe, Senator, that this might in fact help reduce the incidence of gun violence?
Well, when a gun owner calls their insurer to say, look, I need liability insurance now, the insurer is going to say, where do you keep your guns? How many guns do you have? Do you keep them in a stored, locked place? Do you have a trigger lock on your guns? How many children in your house? They're going to ask lots of questions that your rate is obviously, your insurance rate will go down the more safe and the more responsible you are as a gun owner. So my objective is to increase safety and to lessen gun violence. It'll certainly stop suicides, which are one of the #1 deaths due to guns. And it will hopefully make gun ownership much more responsible.
And so what's next with your proposal?
Well, we'll have it heard in the Public Safety Committee at the State Assembly. And then if it's successful in the Assembly and comes over to the Senate, hopefully it will make it to the governor's desk.
Okay, you saw that, you heard that. This is from Fox 2. This is a local affiliate in California. Title, California Lawmaker proposes requiring gun owners to be insured. Sacramento, taking a nod from the city of San Jose, a California lawmaker on Thursday introduced a bill that would require gun owners to obtain liability insurance for the negligent or accidental use of their firearms, because I'm sure the criminal element is going to line up for this. If enacted, SB 505, introduced by State Senator Nancy Skinner, would make California the first state in the nation to adopt such legislation. Guns kill more people than cars, Skinner said. That's a lie. What they do is they're lumping in suicide. Suicides account for a majority. Like, I think it's, somebody correct me, but I think it's around 50-60% of gun deaths are suicides. That's what they're trying to pull a little stunt here with that statement. That's not true. Yet gun owners are not required to carry liability insurance like car owners must, because driving a car is not a right, it is a privilege. Why should taxpayers, survivors, family members, employers, and communities bear the $280 billion annual cost of gun violence? Because the criminals are committing all of that gun violence. Do you know these people, that their mentality, man, is backwards. It's backwards. It's time for gun owners to shoulder their fair share. Under the proposal, gun insurance in California would be similar to car insurance. Gun owners would be held civilly liable for property damage, injury, or death resulting from the use of their firearms. They would also have to obtain liability insurance that covers loss or damages resulting from negligent or accidental use of their firearm, including property damage, injury, or death, and keep proof of that their insurance with the gun. The hope is that gun ownership will become more expensive. Ta-da! Here it is. This is what it's about. The hope is that gun ownership will become more expensive. They literally want to make it too expensive for the average person to own a gun. And think about this for a minute. Who would this affect? Who does this affect? People of meager means who are poor or struggling and can't afford to do this, which is, unfortunately, this place in time with the inflation the way it is, gas prices the way it is, that's a majority of us. Because I'm sure they're going to make this retroactive, and anybody who owns a gun prior to this will have to go out and get the insurance for it. So, once again, this Democrat is attacking the poor, people of color, marginalized people, the people they claim to care about so much. This bill only affects them. And do you think these damn politicians are going to make their security details carry insurance? Hell no. But because of the extra insurance, people would have to pay and require more safety features if people want to get a lower bill, according to Skinner's team. When a gun owner calls their insurance to say, look, I need liability insurance now, the insurer is going to say, where do you keep your guns? Skinner said the more questions the gun owner can answer, proving to the insurance company that the guns is being kept safely, will mean a lower insurance rate. No, it will not. That's just going to increase safety and lessen gun violence. If the criminals were following this, then yes. But Skinner's bill comes in response to recent mass shootings in Uvalde, Texas, Buffalo, New York, and Tulsa, Oklahoma, even though it's acknowledged that this legislation will likely not stop these kinds of events, especially when assault rifles are used. So then what's it for? It's to hamper the good people from exercising a right. The bill is being amended into SB 505, legislation that had been authored by Senator Bob Hertzberg, Democrat, Van Nuys, on a different topic. Earlier this year, the city of San Jose became the first city in California to pass a law requiring gun owners to obtain liability insurance. The state of New York is also considered gun insurance legislation. Mayor Sam Liccardo said the proposals are modeled after public health approaches that have reduced auto-related deaths, tobacco use, and teen pregnancy. Remember, how many times have you heard me say that they are trying to attach murder by a firearm as a health epidemic? Here it is again. They are skirting the Constitution by claiming gun violence as a public health issue. If Skinner's bill passes, it will also surely be contested, and rightfully so. In January, the National Association for Gun Rights and gun owner Mark Sykes sued San Jose in federal court after city council members voted to approve the ordinance believed to be the first measure of its kind in the United States. The law is unconstitutional, Harmeet Dillon, a lawyer representing the plaintiff, said at the time. The law compels people to purchase insurance that doesn't necessarily exist, and that demonstrates that this law is not in good faith or a good faith attempt to do anything other than ban or burden the lawful possession of guns. That's what it's for. However, gun reform advocates say getting sued is worth it, pointing to polls showing more than 80% of Americans support tougher gun legislation. That's a lie. This is an article here. I'm not getting deeply into the hard article, but I'm going to go down where they talk about the polling. What they do in these polls, I'm going to leave the article in the description box so you can look at it. But what they do in these polls, they ask a very generalized question, such as, do you think that people should store their guns safely at home? Most people say, well, yes. They take that answer and say, oh, look, more people support better gun regulations. It's a game. It's an absolute game. Since 2013, gun deaths have soared 83% nationwide. According to a recent study, gun deaths now outnumber motor vehicle fatalities in 34 states. Once again, as I said before, they also include suicides by handguns or suicide by firearms. And they were, during COVID, during the lockdown, there were a lot of people, unfortunately, who could not handle the stress of the lockdown, and they were losing everything, and they committed suicide. Once again, it's a play on actual facts. But let's keep going here. 34 states. In addition, guns now kill more children and teens in the U.S. than auto crashes. California has some of the toughest gun control laws in the country, and since 2005, gun deaths have declined in our state by 10%. By contrast, Texas and Florida have some of the weakest gun laws in the nation, and their gun deaths have shot up 28, 37% respectively during the same period. Once again, it's a play on the facts. What they're using, what this person's not telling you in this article, is that the whole murder by firearm situation from state to state is done on a per capita idea. Per capita, unfortunately, is flawed. I've always said it's flawed math because it relies on an idea that doesn't exist. I'll give you an example. State A has 10 people and state B has 100 people. State A has one death by a firearm. State B also has one death by a firearm. They then say, well, if State A had the same number of people in it as State B, they would have 10 deaths, 10 gun deaths. That means that theirs more violent in State A than State B. That's what it's the whole idea. It relies on an idea that doesn't exist. What if California has more people in it, from what I can remember, than Texas and Florida? Not together, but individually have more people in their state. So it's based on the idea that if, as you see, every time they do this, it's based on the per 100,000 ideal. It's the notion that if the same people lived in both states, then one state would have a higher gun death than another. That's can't even be proven unless you actually have equal numbers of people in each state. But that's a whole nother issue. But that, as I said in my first video, I said this was going to spread. As you see, New York's eyeing it. I know Connecticut's eyeing it because they're watching how this thing's going to go through the court and how the courts are going to handle it. And I'm sure they're a little bit leery about it, seeing what happened in the Supreme Court with the New York concealed carry law being, overturned. And I don't know if they would want to bring this all the way to the Supreme Court. The only problem is that I have an issue with the amount of money that's spent to go through this process, because the plaintiffs are using their money through donations or whatever it may be, whoever's supporting them. The state uses taxpayer money to defend themselves, and that's a problem. So we'll see how this goes as it moves down the line. But I said this was going to happen, and hopefully this will be nipped very quickly, because most gun violence are committed by criminals. Criminals are not going to carry liability insurance around, and I guarantee you, at some point, this insurance will become like a pool. They'll just take all the money for the insurance that's being put in for premiums and dump it into it, what basically is a pool. And if somebody gets injured by a firearm, and that person's a criminal who doesn't have liability insurance, they can then dip into that pool, and that's what's pretty much going to happen in the end. It's going to become a free-for-all. And every time somebody gets injured, they'll sue they'll sue insurance companies for that pool money to get paid for somebody who, obviously, if a criminal's not going to go get liability insurance, where are they going to get the money from? They're going to get it from the people who paid into the liability insurance in the first place, which is who? It's the people who are willing to follow the rules and not go out and commit crime. But do I have to point out, do I have to tell you that? You know how to get these things play out. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get notified the next time a video goes live. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.